What's up, guys? We're here with another guide for one of the new DLC characters. Today we're looking at Jiren. So Jiren seems like a pretty unconventional character, but potentially really strong. I've seen a lot of stuff with this character that leads me to believe he could end up being really powerful. But he is a little bit weird, so it's going to take some time to get used to. So first, let's run through his special moves. I would say probably his most defining special move is quarter circle back plus attack, and he does a counter. So the light version is going to counter mids and highs, like that. The medium version is going to counter lows. So there you go. And then the heavy version counters both. And the really big thing about the heavy version is that it's frame 1 invincible. So if the opponent is doing like literally anything that has like a slight gap in it, like any gap in a block string, you can squeeze the heavy counter in there. So that's pretty neat. You're not going to be able to sneak either of the other counters in there because they do have some vulnerable startup frames. But the heavy one, you can just get that in and beat them. And this is also one of only 2 things in the game now, as far as I know, that beat safe jumps. So if the opponent has a safe jump setup, like off of a level 3, you know, normally this is going to beat like invincible wake up moves. Like this even beats Videl's counter super. Because this does have like a couple vulnerable frames of startup. So you're going to get hit there if you do a counter super. But Jiren heavy counter will indeed beat this setup. So that's pretty sweet. The only other thing I know of in the game that beats this is Cooler's level 3. So that's pretty darn neat. It's a neat little thing that they gave Jiren. So yeah, the heavy counter I think is really good, but I'm starting to notice that since the patch you do build less meter than before. In general, meter is kind of precious now, so maybe you're not going to be throwing this out that much, but it still does seem very strong. He also has one more counter that's worth talking about, which is quarter circle back plus the key button, or the special button, and that will counter key blasts. So from anywhere on screen, you can counter key blasts. You can combo off it with vanish. So yeah, that's pretty cool as well. You can use that to deal with, you know, annoying characters like Vegeta who like to chill up here in the sky and throw those air key blasts. You can just punish them clean for that, which is pretty sick. So I think these counters are pretty strong, but it's going to be a little bit hard to get used to them because it's a very unconventional playstyle that requires a lot of commitment and a lot of prediction for what the opponent's going to do. But I do think that these are powerful tools. Next up, we'll talk about his quarter circle forward plus attack. This is this little eye blast thing. As far as I can tell, this is just a combo only move. In the corner, you can combo off the medium version pretty easily, and the heavy version as well. You can super dash to combo off that in the corner. But I think the primary use of this is it actually sets up throws pretty nicely, or dragon rushes, I should say. So if you're kind of air juggling the opponent, in the corner, meterless, you can set up a dragon rush off this, so you can use that for snaps. Mid-screen, you are going to need to use a meter, at least as far as I'm aware. So you need to use the heavy version, but then, boom, you're set up perfectly for a snap. So that's pretty nice as well. But from what I can tell, that's pretty much the only use of this move. You're not really going to be using it on block or anything, because obviously you're so committed that they'll just guard cancel you. So yeah, but as a combo extension move, it seems pretty decent. And this move is also his assist. It seems like an okay assist. I mean, obviously it's nice that it holds them still for a little while, and you can kind of use it to set up mix-ups and stuff like that. But I think the big problem with this assist is that if it hits them, you know, it throws them full screen. So outside of the corner, it's a little bit hard to combo off of, but you can still do it, you know, with stuff like super dash. So I would say it's like a upgraded version of base Goku assist, which is already like about an average assist, I would say. So I'd say this is probably a slightly above average assist. It's definitely not as good as Videl's, in my opinion, but it's definitely not bad either. So he does have a pretty solid assist, but I do think generally you're going to be running him first or second slot on the team, because I think he does rely on assists a little bit, especially for corner carry, which he's really reliant on the corner, but I'll explain that more a little bit later. So let's talk about his last special move here, which is quarter circle forward plus the key button. And this will actually go through projectiles, so that's pretty cool. It's similar to like Cooler, his down forward plus heavy attack. So yeah, that's pretty neat. And this also does have some use as sort of a combo ender as well. but I don't think you'll really see it that much outside of, you know, occasionally you're going to call out a projectile with this and feel really godlike. So let's talk a little bit about Jiren's strategy. So I think an interesting thing about Jiren is he really does play around the corner. So he has a lot of moves that help him sort of maintain the corner. One is that his down heavy launcher actually switches sides. So that's kind of interesting. If you need to switch sides, you can go to that. Or if you want to launch them and keep them on the same side, you can do his down plus special, which is an alternative launcher. And what's really cool about this is it also acts as a sort of counter. So if the opponent is like, you know, doing a quick air dash at you, and normally in situations where a down heavy would be blocked because you input it too late, a down special will actually work perfectly here. And you can just combo off it with super dash just fine. It's not a problem. So this move actually seems really, really strong to me, his down plus special. But yeah, what I mentioned was you're going to want to get them towards the corner because he does have an easier time doing snapbacks. Like I mentioned, he can do them meterless in the corner. Like that. But also because sliding knockdowns are easier for him in the corner, he has this really weird move, down plus heavy in the air. His down heavy in the air is not a launcher. It is instead this weird spinny stomp thing. And if you do down S into down H in the air, you'll get a nice little knockdown there. So this is handy for ending combos, and you can go into super afterwards. So what I was mentioning earlier with wanting to have assists to help him extend his combos, assists can really help him get towards the corner. So this is like a basic combo here involving an assist. And you can see that carried me really far into the corner, so I was able to get that down S into down H ender. And that's a big chunk of damage. Mid-screen, it's a little bit harder for him. Really, mid-screen, if you want a sliding knockdown, you are going to want to combo directly into one of his launchers instead of doing a sort of jump cancel combo, you know, like this. Because usually, you know, even with assist corner carry, you're not going to get close enough to the corner, so you're not going to be able to get that sliding knockdown. So that is something to take note of. You are going to want to push them into the corner. Another thing that is enabled by the corner is comboing off of his standing heavy. I didn't mention this already, but his standing heavy is really unique because it's a command throw. So normally mid-screen you can only really combo off this with Vanish. But in the corner you can combo off this a lot easier. You can go straight into down S into that sliding knockdown that I mentioned. So this is a pretty useful move. Obviously you can chain into it off of a lot of stuff and really keep the opponent guessing and make them second guess their blocking by throwing them. So that's pretty cool. Something else you've probably kind of noticed is that I'm using his Ki Blast a lot to extend combos. You can use Ki Blast as sort of an air launcher in a way, since you can combo into Super Dash off them. So even though he doesn't have an air down heavy that he can combo off of, he can use his Ki Blast to set up the Super Dash to kind of extend your combos that way. You can use down plus Ki Blast the same way, and this will actually pull you closer to the ground, which you do need to do for certain combos like this one. You need the down Ki Blast to pull you closer to the ground so that you can land the Dragon Rush in that scenario. I dropped the combo, but I promise it does work. There you go. Let's talk briefly about his supers. He's got his main super here, quarter circle forward, plus 2 punches. So this is mostly just, you know, a combo ender. This is also what will come out if you use a DHC. And you can do this in the air too. So, you know, this is a pretty easy super to land, and it does decent damage. He actually has an alternate level 1 if you do quarter circle forward plus the super dash input. He does this little uppercut. And this move's pretty interesting. It's actually completely invincible. So if the opponent is like pressuring you or whatever, you can go right through it with this super. So that's pretty neat. It's also a very damaging combo ender, but generally it's only going to work in the corner. So if you actually do have the opponent in the corner and you land that sliding knockdown, you can go into this and it does a ton of damage. But depending on what character you have behind you, it might be hard to land a Z change after. So do take note of that, but it usually will be possible, I think, with most characters. Like, see, you have some weird situations like this, but usually you can still make it work. So in the corner, that's a more damaging option than his main super. But mid-screen, you know, you're not really going to be able to make that work because they'll just be too far away, you know. Not going to work. You need to do his main super for that. And then we'll talk about his level 3. His level 3 is a pretty standard combo ender, you know. It's invincible, like all level 3s. And then he does this awesome zoom-out punch. I think the animation is so sick. And he doesn't really get good setups off this. He gets, like, an instant air dash, and that's about it. So I would say Videl's setups after her level 3 are a little bit more clean. But of course, it's possible that there's some stuff that I haven't found yet that other people are going to find out. But for now, this seems like a fairly average, like, kind of mediocre level 3. But obviously, it's not terrible because it is going to do a lot of damage, and it is going to give you that untechable knockdown, so you can set up some mix-ups afterwards. So let's talk about some basic combos. So if you're far from the corner, pretty much you're just going to only be able to do a basic combo like this if you want to go into a sliding knockdown. If you want to go into a throw instead, a Dragon Rush, if you want to snap, you're going to want to do this. Just medium into heavy eye lasers into Dragon Rush. If you have an extension assist, you can generally get pretty far corner carry. So you can do a combo like this, and then end in down S, down H. So that's pretty damaging, but it does rely on you being in the corner to get that ender. So that's pretty handy as well. And then in the corner, if you want to snap, you can just do something like this. Medium eye lasers straight into snap. So yeah, those are some basic ideas there. And as for strategy, like I mentioned, you know, you're going to want generally a combo extension assist with him, I think. Your goal is really going to be, you know, make the opponent scared to press any buttons because of the threat of counter, and then maybe take advantage of that hesitation to land his command throw. He does have some decent mix-ups because of the command throw and because you can do stuff like do a slightly unsafe move and then cancel it into counter to keep them guessing. So that's pretty handy. He seems like a very high commitment character, but one where if you can read the opponent correctly and you know what they're going to do, you can really call them out and get a huge punish for it. So he seems like a really cool character. Maybe not one I would recommend for beginners, but for someone who's been playing the game for a while, I think he'll be a good breath of fresh air because he is very different from what we have in the game so far. That's something I felt has kind of been true for both of the new characters, and that's a trend I hope to see continue. Really interesting, unique characters that we haven't really encountered yet. So that's about all I have to say for Jiren. There's definitely a lot of stuff that I haven't quite figured out with him yet, but I think the potential is there and he could end up being a really powerful and sick character. So I hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to have some gameplay videos up very soon, some online matches of me playing the new characters, so make sure you stay tuned to that and hit the sub button so you don't miss it. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.